Hello everyone, Ramadan Mubarak, تصوم وتفطر على خير. It is such a big honor and privilege to be sharing with you today about an extraordinary video about a unique book, which I attempt to review. Guess what's this book? It's of course Who Moved My Cheese by Spenser. What distinguishes this great book is that it's simple and thought-provoking, and I strongly believe that whoever reads it will soon start making radical solutions to problems and decision-making that concerns their personal, academic, social, and working lives. Many people who read it refer to it as childish, idiotic, and lacking content. However, it's really profound and a masterpiece. The story contains four little fellows: Scurry, Sniff, and Hem and Ho. Scurry and Sniff are mice, while Ho and Hem are little people, the size of mice, and all of them have to survive on cheese. Their supplier is the kingdom of maze, of endless stations and corridors. Their typical day begins with wearing their jogging attire and run through these passages and corridors looking for cheese. Sometimes they are lucky and they find it. Other times they just go home empty-handed. Fortunately, one day the four of them find a cheese station with an enormous amount of cheese, and they are all speechless. This station seems to have enough cheese to provide them for eggs. So as they wake up, they headed to the station daily. And there is one thing in particular the mice did that the clever little people didn't. It was to inspect the cheese every day. In fact, every morning before settling to eat. And by doing so, the mice would notice any growth or decrease, and they would assess the quantity remaining. The little people seemed to be living and enjoying a luxurious comfort zone, and they would no longer wake up early to pay a visit to the station. They just thought that this cheese would be there anyway. And to their greatest astonishment, they wake up to find that the cheese is gone and there is nothing in the station. And Hem did not take this seriously. And for her, well, this was too much for him, and he was speechless. And unlike for the mice that morning, had found the cheese gone, but they were not surprised. And for Sniff, he has always sniffed the rotten parts, and Scurry would always rush in first to clear the waste. They knew that the cheese quantity was quickly decreasing, and that morning, when they didn't find any cheese, Sniff sniffed the direction of new cheese, and Scurry and Sniff ran closely behind, trying to keep up. They began running through the maze once more in search of a new cheese station. The little people, Hem and Ho, who are distinguished by their complicated minds and personal feelings, stayed in the empty cheese station for days, willing that someone would replace the cheese. And for Hem, he didn't want to change the station. And although the mice had simple minds, they kept stuff simple. If cheese ran out in one station, then they looked for a new cheese. They approached life practically. And for the little people, Hem and Ho, who still feel entitled to the enormous amount of cheese that ran out, none of them wanted to believe or appreciate their new reality. Change has occurred. This cheese station has run out of cheese, and Ho was more receptive, and he noticed the conspicuous absence for their friends, Scurry and Sniff, who thought that the little people were not aware, have found a new cheese station which has a gigantic amount of cheese varieties, much more than the station where Hem and Ho were still wasting time. And for several times, Ho told him that they should move out of the station and go and look for new cheese. But Hem gave reasons why the idea was not good. Hem's comments discouraged Ho, so he stayed bamboozled. But one day, Ho thought, if I was not afraid, what would I do? He sprang to his feet, rushed for his jogging shoes, and moved out of the station to go and look for new cheese. He shouted to him, "It is maize time," but Hem didn't even move a muscle. He stayed put. At first, It was scary for Hope, but soon enough, he began coming across a series of keys in some stations. At one time, he finds a keys station which has a considerable amount of cheese varieties, which was ridiculous, and he decides to take some to him, who in his mind still refuses to accept this kind offer, claiming that he preferred his old cheese. And amongst the quotes in the book that I most like is, "Don't get bitter and blame anyone or anything for where you are in life." And as a fan of this book myself, I highly recommend it to people of all different ages. And believe me, if you read this book, you are going to find many useful and interesting quotes as well. Before the end of this video, I would like to thank the following people for their continuous support, inspiration, and motivation. These people that I'm going to mention are my colleagues and teachers at the English Cafe Center in Khartoum. It happened that once or twice we made a discussion for this book, Who Moved My Keys, and other books as well. Mr. Ahmed Afro, Mr. Muhammad Ibed, Mr. Just, Mr. Mustafa, and the ladies, Ms. Rihab, Ms. Riyan, and Ms. Hafsa. And of course, I won't forget to thank the teachers of the English Cafe Center then, Mr. Azad, Salama. And if it hadn't been for Mr. Azad, we wouldn't have come to know this book and other books like The Art of Thinking Clearly and Think Like a Freak. And also Mr. Saad, Mr. Musa, and Mr. Khalid, and Mr. Ali. And wherever you are, guys, I hope that you are doing well. And of course, I won't forget to thank Mr. Kimi for videotaping this video for me for this time. And also, how come I forget you guys? You always watch my videos, comment, like, and subscribe. I will see you next time. Stay well, everybody. Thank you so much for watching.